Welcome to Friends in Wild Places.
On this episode of Friends in Wild Places, our posse lands in the middle of the PA Wilds in a little community called Cinemahoning. We're going up on the First Fork to meet the Alexander family. The Alexander family has a cabin tucked in across the creek and up the mountain, well off the beaten path. We're going to meet the family up at Lakeview Store and Cabins. Lakeview Store is a little store that is a throwback to a simpler time, still carries that same feel of a time before the mega stores. Our setting for today's adventure into the past is near the Stevenson Dam in the Cinemahoning State Park in Pennsylvania. The family's camp was one of the cabins moved when the dam was constructed in 1955. This week we take a look back in time at what many of the typical camps of our grandfathers looked like and how much these camps meant to the families they served. Sit back and enjoy this show from Cinemahoning, Pennsylvania, where we may just run into about anything. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
I like walking on the wild side, wide open every time, letting it fly. You can find me high on the mountaintop, floating down a river rock, living for the ride. If you really want room to run, I'll show you where to get it done. Step off the back porch, jump across the fence, don't let the barbed wire catch you in the pants. I'll be waiting in the bottom by the TomBob Creek. Come on, take a walk on the wild side with me.
One thing about our jobs, you never know where you're going to end up. We're in the middle of the Cinemahoning area here, smack dab, beautiful day. You can probably see elk anytime, but some of the people that you get to meet up in this area, it's pretty incredible. Everybody seems to have a different attitude up here. I don't know if it's because they get away from work or what the gig is, but people just seem to be overly friendly. Even people maybe that weren't normally nice are super nice. But this family we're with today, both up here in the country and out in the workforce, these people are great people. Just great family. It's just a pleasure to be able to spend the day with them and actually capture it here on film. So looking forward to a little bit of history of the Fork and the Cinemahoning Dam, the Stevenson Dam I guess I should say, in the Cinemahoning area. So anyhow, we're going back an old grassy road here. It's a right of way, and we're not allowed to say the disclosure or exactly where we're at, but we're about as deep in the country as you can get. I had to laugh. They were telling me about they had a copperhead in the camp one day, slithered up into one of their cabinets they had, and I said, I couldn't take that. I can take spiders and some of that stuff, but having a copperhead in my camp, I think that'd be pretty rough. Anyhow, they're the real deal. Enjoy the show. We're with Charlie and Gary. We finally made it across the creek. And again, thanks so much for having us up here. And we're going to learn a little history about the area, a little history about the cabin, and I just thought this was a great human interest story. We couldn't pass it up when we met you guys. Tell us a little bit. I know we're not allowed to talk about the area, where this is secret now, but I see why. It's a little slice of paradise when you look around and you look at our videos here. It is beautiful here, and I see why you keep it so quiet, and we will honor that. So our location is unknown this week, but tell us a little bit about the cabin and the history of it, right from your grandpap to where we are today.
Well, my grandfather started hunting up here in about 1942, and he just fell in love with it up here and found out about this little camp, and it was in a kind of a bad location, but he bought it, and long story short, he moved it up here, and this has just been the best place on earth ever since.
It's pretty obvious.
He loved it up here. There was times when he came up here 24 times in a year.
I know you've been sharing some stories, and I think you two love it pretty much too.
Yes.
I can see the love here. But he would get stuck up here once in a while too back in the day. He'd be up here for a couple of weeks when the creek would rise.
Yeah.
The creek would rise, he'd be stuck.
He would be, yeah. And there was a time when he got stuck up here. I think it was a hurricane that came through and had to back up the dam, and it was flooded, and he was about 90 years old.
Yeah, that's another thing. You were telling me his last trip up here was in his 90s, and he was staying.
Yes. He's up until he was about 94. He used to come up here all by himself and cut all the grass and take care of everything before we would get here. And I used to say, Pop, why didn't you let us help you? Oh, I want you to come up here and just love the place. And I do.
Now there's no electric here.
Nope.
There's no sound of anything.
There's no cell phones.
It is, there's nothing here. And you definitely don't want to get bit by a snake, because by the time you get out of here, they might as well just put you in a cardboard or a pine box.
Tell newcomers, don't do anything to get hurt, because I ain't getting you anywhere fast.
No.
And just sit down and enjoy the view.
Enjoy the view, because it's going to fade to black.
Yes, it is.
Speaking of fading to black, and I know there was a little snake story. I had my wife Sherry up here, and I know we had a little copperhead in the corner at one point, and that was enough. Just, Gary, tell that story about the copperhead just real quick at the corner.
Just that we have our tanks for gas for cooking and everything, and we opened it up the one day and there's a copperhead in there, so we were trying to get him out of there, and a mouse apparently made a hole. Now he's not in the camp, but
yeah,
he hangs out where the tanks are, and every once in a while you open it up and he'll be in there coiled up, and we'll get him out of there eventually.
So this isn't a place for the weak at heart. If you really want the camping experience, this is over the top, because Sherry said I'd have trouble sleeping there, you know?
Well,
now do
we're
you?
not roughing it here. I mean, we got beds and...
You got beds and everything. So if a snake crawls in, it's okay.
Yeah, we got guns. We can take care.
We take care of it. All right. All right. Well, we really appreciate it. Let's jump inside and take a look at some of the things. I know you've got some pictures that are really nostalgic and just some really cool things. But again, thanks for joining us here on TomBob Outdoors. It's a great day in elk country, and I don't know of a better place I'd want to be today is here with you guys at this camp. It's just really something. You can feel the wholesomeness of this whole place in this region. And we're smack dab in the middle of the PA Wilds. I don't think you can get any deeper without coming out the other side right now. So anyhow, let's go in.
As our time with the Alexander family began to unfold, we found ourselves reliving past memories and stories of the camp. Swapping stories and adventures and reliving past hunts seemed to be the theme of the day as the hours went on.
This is my mom, Pat, and this was her dad's camp. And so she has memories when she was a little girl of when the camp originally sat down over the hill, and the farm that it was on was the man's farm.
Man's farm.
And my grandfather actually leased the camp when it was down over the hill from the man's. And I was going through stuff that he had given me a long time ago, and I found these original letters from Edward Mann, who had the camp, and my grandfather. And it goes through, there was a couple people interested in the place.
Right.
And Edward was worried. He wanted to do this fair.
Right.
And long story short, Pop got to camp, and these are treasures. I didn't know they existed until a couple days ago. And it's really cool.
Emotions got the best of us from time to time as we revisited the old photos and shared and relived countless events that helped make this camp a treasure to the family living today. We witnessed our producer tear up more than once as he relived similar stories of camp tales.
But his heart was truly here.
Oh, it was.
You can tell by the photographs in that. We'll go over some of the photographs here in a little bit. Unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah, but
And that's the part that a lot of our modern day society is missing now, the authenticity of a camp like this.
Mm-hmm.
This is the real deal. This is what it's all about. Mm-hmm. And this reminds me of a camp that my family had that was in Baker Run, and it has the same smell. It's too bad we don't have smell vision because it has the same smell. It's just the same look, same time period. I know you have a little thing over here that has a lot of your father and grandfather's articles that we'll show on the video, and just the whole deal. It makes you slow down and disconnect from all the crap that's going on in the world today.
It does.
And again, I can't wait to take you up. I know we talked earlier about my dad way back when hunting on top of this ridge and leaving a pocket knife up there. And who had ever thought years after he had passed, I'd be over here visiting with your family and knowing that sometime this fall we're going to take a walk up there. So we'll probably be capturing that on video too. But not that I'm looking for the knife, but I just would like to stand where he stood. Because every time we
Absolutely.
crossed the road over there, he'd point way over there. You know?
Yeah.
Welcome back to TomBob Outdoors. Now let's join up with the crew as they take a break from filming and learn more about the big woods and what a pounder is.
There's one out of the tree.
Yeah, it's a little bit bigger.
But there's bigger ones.
These are small compared to some of the ones they've had.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch laying up there that are even bigger.
I got 23 quarts
Each
of
one
apple
make-
pie filling this year from the apples.
They used to call these pounders because they weighed a pound.
Yeah, that's a medium sized.
Yeah, it's a medium.
It's
Yeah, there's
still
a
pretty-
couple up there that are
It's
bigger.
sizable.
girthy.
Some of them ones are just mammoths.
Yeah.
That's why the trees are at that height, because the elk come up and they just eat right there.
Well, it's funny because Pop put all these fruit trees here, and the bear comes and he climbs and breaks branches, and the elk comes and rakes it, and Pop would get so mad. And I said, Pop, you put a ponderosa in the middle of the forest, and you expect the animals to stay
That's
away?
exactly it. A buffet.
Yep.
Yeah, he had that old H&H single shot 12
He'd
gauge.
shoot the bear in the
shoot
butt.
the bear in the butt.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah. He was so upset when they brought the elk up here. I have letters from the Game Commission that told all the residents they were transplanting the elk up here. And I have letters that Pop wrote to the Game Commission saying, this is all the damage that the elk have done to my camp.
Yeah.
And then letters from the Game Commission to Pop, well, we're sorry about that. We can give you rubber bullets. We can blah, 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 blah. And Pop's like, rubber bullets?
And they're like, oh, they're going to chase all the deer out.
Yeah,
Yet you come up and there's elk and deer out there
Yeah, the
together.
one time we were sitting on the picnic table and there was 2 bull elk and 11 deer eating right there when they first put them here. Yep.
That didn't bother them.
No.
Yeah, we see them occasionally in the morning or the evening up in
And
there.
what was his biggest complaint with the elk?
He thought they were going to chase a deer away and they ruin his fruit trees
Yeah.
because they get up in there and with their
Get
antlers.
their
and-
antlers and rack through them.
Only about half of the tree.
I think they keep them pruned pretty good.
Yeah. Looks pretty nice.
He's got spots all over that hill where he got deer. It's just amazing. Love to have seen what he's seen. Love to be 101.
That's a long time.
It's a lot of presidents.
Yeah, it is.
One of the times when they were up here hunting, wasn't it when they were hunting?
Well, they came up and the water was all the way across.
Yeah, it's like a placid lake.
Yes, and they had to boat across. And Dick, as they got over to this side, tied a milk jug on the top of one of those pine trees.
And it's right down over the hill here.
Yeah.
Right down over the yard.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's about 75 feet or better.
Yeah. Your truck's not going to cross that.
No. No, but Pop said you could boat across it like just a lake.
Lake, yeah.
It was so
Wow.
quiet
Wow.
and calm. But
Yeah,
those are those pictures.
Yeah, we've stopped up and it's been so, the creek's just roaring by. And we said if Pop was here,
yeah.
he'd say, I didn't come up for nothing. I'm going
Well,
across.
you know, Pop had this little journal that he kept in his pack basket. He had this pack basket he carried
That needs to be.
every time he came up
There
here.
you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Neat.
he started keeping track, 1967 is the first entry in here. He came up 22 times that year. And there's entries in here where, you know, he gets more detailed, obviously, here. And creek was too high to cross, left the truck on the other side and boated across or waded across. Or
Fell through the ice,
I
almost
mean,
didn't make it out.
normal people
Yeah.
would think you're crazy, but
isn't that cool that
this
he
is-
left you all that? And for you guys out there that are watching the show today, keep some records because you can see how much enjoyment you get out of these.
yeah, this was really fun to read. And he stopped putting stuff in here clear up 2008, and I think that's about the time he handed the keys over to me. And unfortunately, I didn't continue that, but I probably should,
Well, it's not too late. Maybe today is the start. You know,
Yeah.
that'd be perfect day to start is today.
because it's really kind of neat.
And he would be so, I didn't naturally know him, but I'm sure he'd be awful proud to see you guys here honoring
He
him
would.
and the camp and what it meant.
He would, and all he ever wanted was someone to love it like he did.
He'd always say, "This is God's country." But we had a good time when we'd come up, but I didn't. As a little girl, I wasn't real thrilled because there were snakes. And no matter
You
where,
probably didn't appreciate it.
they'd
like,
all
yeah.
go, "Hey, Pat's here now.
Yeah.
Let's all come out." There was a big swinging bridge too that you'd walk across, and my mom would sit up there with her .22 rifle, and she'd shoot snakes. Oh, she was so thrilled if she could get a water snake. But she hunted with my dad up here and even got a deer. I know for sure one time. Yeah, look, 1991, no deer hunting in camp this year. Dutch worked, and Ernie got a buck at home
With the bow.
with the bow. That was 1991. Mom had heart attack day before Thanksgiving. No hunting season for deer. Now, a funny thing my mom used to always say, "Boy, Patty, I hope I don't die during hunting season." Yeah.
Well, we sure hope you enjoyed this week's episode here at Friends in Wild Places. It was unique to sit down and go over some of the things we got to see with the Alexander family and how traditional camps looked here in the PA Wilds. But here's where the story takes a twist. If you notice in the pictures when I was talking about my father's pocket knife, Pat was really focused on me when I was explaining what had happened, that my dad had been up here in the early 50s and had hunted over on that side of the river and left his pocket knife there, and apparently it was a prized pocket knife. And we weren't real sure of the details of the knife, but my dad would always say, "I left a good pocket knife over there." And every time we rode up and down this highway, he would point over there. Well, as the story goes on, as we know, Pat's looking at me at the video and she's hearing me talk about this pocket knife, and she recircles back around and says to me, "Brad," she said, "I remember the day my dad came back and was talking about the pocket knife he had found back in the early 50s. And I'm not sure if he was talking to Pat or Pat's mother at the time, but he brought a knife back. That would probably have been my dad's pocket knife." And it's really crazy how we always talk about Friends in Wild Places, how these stories develop, that who would ever thought after all these years, my chance meeting Charlie and Gary, getting to meet Pat and their family, and now they're back in their hometown trying to find that knife. Now, to complete the story, what's the chances of that ever happening? Me actually meeting them, go over there to their property, and maybe have a chance to see my dad's knife that he left there years ago. Talk about wild things. That's pretty crazy. You can call it karma, whatever, but I think sometimes our connection to the past is more evident than we know. And just this happening alone just made this story just great for me. Now, it's irrelevant where I get the knife or not. It's the idea that they found it, our two families connected, and after, here we are in 2017 going into 18, and we're still talking about our families that met years ago in a unique way. Never really met one-on-one, but met in a unique way. So as an old radio announcer used to say, now you heard the rest of the story. You never know what you're going to find out here in the PA Wilds. Thanks for joining us.
Welcome to this week's Pennsylvania Great Outdoorsman. At the PA Great Outdoors region is a big, beautiful part of Pennsylvania and home to the Clarion River, a federally designated national and wild scenic recreation river. This beautiful river meanders over 100 miles from its mountain headwaters through narrow valleys and densely forested mountain slopes to ultimately join the Allegheny near Foxborough. The Clarion's intermittent riffles and rocky outcrops provide a picturesque backdrop for outdoor adventure, including kayaking, canoeing, tubing, swimming, fishing, and photography. The northern Clarion near Ridgeway offers exceptional brown trout fishing. The picturesque river flows through Cook Forest State Park, which Men's Journal called America's best old-growth forest. River Road enables visitors to enjoy a scenic drive along this magnificent river. Come experience the wild and scenic Clarion River. Plan your trip to the Pennsylvania Great Outdoors. Go to visit PAGO.com or like PA Great Outdoors on Facebook.